Greetings and welcome to the Pure Report. I'm your host, Rob Ludeman. It's time to bring the orange, and I am happy to welcome back Mr. Chad Kenny as we are marching through all of the great launch announcements that happened at Pure Accelerate New York. If you caught episode 1, we hit the intelligent control plane, also with you, Chad. And now we are hammering on the unified data plane, which is really exciting. A lot of great hardware announcements, technology advances. We've got hero numbers, everything. It's a super exciting time when you bring out new gear.
It's been a bunch of fun projects. Like, we literally updated the entire family.
Yeah.
Was quite a lift, I would say. And just even getting it out, going from Vegas where everyone was like, wow, you had a lot of cool stuff. And I'm like, you don't even know what we're
just
about
you
to
wait.
come out.
There's more to come, right?
Yeah. It's been great.
And it's really fun to look at the expansiveness of the flash array part of the portfolio, right? Because you and I have been here a while and it was just it was sort of one thing. And now there's a lot of different workloads that we can hit across the spectrum. And you add in FlashBlade, we're talking about a storage portfolio that hits from AI to long-term data repositories, databases, like high latency requirements, like across the board. We've got something for everybody.
Yeah. It's a fun time to be out there helping customers be able to satisfy pretty much every possible data requirement that they have out there. And with the intelligent control plane, help them focus more on their data side of the house. But let's dig in on some of the fun stuff.
No, let's do it. I'd love a quick intro if people are just joining this chat as our VP of Product Management, longtime Puritan, been here. I don't even know how many years, but we've lost count. But yeah, let us jump in and the excitement that we are hearing. So across the entire flash array family, pretty much you could say we've improved across the board.
Yep.
And as you said, when you layer in intelligent control plane, now you have like this really powerful 1-2 punch around automation, but also we have to keep making the core product better because that's what our customers demand and that's what we do. So where do you want to kick off? Let's do a quick callback. FlashArray XL, the big beast, R5, that was refreshed in Vegas.
Yeah. So we went to the new R5 version on the XL 170 as well as the 130. We saw some pretty sizable performance gains, about a 70% performance gain on that side of the house, which was kind of the new king of the hill, I'd say, for the traditional, OLTP transactional workloads that are latency sensitive. We also had the ST that came out at the same time, which was kind of the top end of the hill on the overall IOPS and an ultra low latency type solution. But we had a few other fun announcements.
Let's touch on it. The XL 190, and what stood out to me as I was looking at the New York announcement, we put a slide up that showed the performance and the capacity per rack that we can get. And it's like a 22x ratio compared to one of the other mainstream solutions that people have been running. That's huge from an environmental standpoint.
This was quite possibly one of the more fun projects that we had out there, which was really trying to create the new king of the hill, I'd say. We had seen many of the multi-controller architectures out there effectively kind of, somewhat owning that space. I'd say we'd been eating into it. I say we had, this new product, the XL 190 is the new king of the hill. It came in 100% performance increase in comparison to the XL 170 R5, which was the prior kind of king of the hill. It was a fun project because we built in, I don't know if you remember the old DMM technology, the direct memory module, which was a read cache within the system. We are replacing that now with a DRAM-based read cache, which is in the controller pairs for the XL190. And so this also dropped the latency results for any read cache hit by about 50% comparative to the already very low consistent latency on the XL170. I'd say we can take pretty much anyone in the market at this point with this new product. And so it's this very exciting time for our teams to be able to, talk with customers about that ultra high end, that whole, amazing performance, but also be able to deliver better resiliency than anything out there in the market. And when you start thinking about kind of the data center rack space and that whole 21 to, 21 or 22, that is, racks that we can do effectively in one rack, it's a big difference in power cooling rack space. But when you're trying to get more GPUs in there, also a huge win for customers just as a whole.
Yeah, it's an interesting trade-off you make where you are trying to free up space for all the GPU and all the AI projects. I was in, I think our CMO, Lynn Lucas, came back from Asia, and she had been talking to one of the big banks that was there that spoke on stage for us and asked the head of IT there, how many AI projects do you have going on? And she said 75 that we're actually allowed to talk about, right? so that kind of shows the demand. And so if we can go free up all that real estate, at the same time, this comes at a great time because while the unstructured data is just going crazy, structured data and transactional, that's still increasing at 40 or 45% per year, SQL Server and Oracle and other databases. And so it makes sense to have something that can take advantage of this great capacity and much smaller footprint.
And we have thousands of customers and tens of thousands of customers running database solutions on top of our platform. And it gives them this continual growth if they continue to need both better performance density, which we've been continuing to deliver, pretty much generation after generation, but now also be able to do some level of consolidation if they want to across a lot of those systems into something that really can scale them well into the future for most cases.
Yeah, consolidation never really goes away as a good strategy. We just don't talk about it as much as maybe we did 15 or 20 years ago. I want to call back a little bit. You touched on ST and you talk about interesting projects and XL190 being an interesting project. I think ST is really a culmination of listening to our customers and having them come and challenge us with something. Like we think you could do this, and then we go off and figure it out. What was different about ST than we see from kind of the mainstream FlashArray products?
Yeah, the use case of this one was quite interesting. The first part of this was customers were putting storage class memory devices in servers in a multitude of different use cases, some of which were scale out databases, some of which were in-memory databases, whatever. They were looking for low latency, deliver me a set of capacity that really could have massive performance in both IOPS as well as super low latency. And so we thought about what if we could create a system that did have very, very fast, low latency devices inside of it, such as storage class memory, and also be able to optimize the IO path to be able to deliver latency all the way back to the host via NVMe over Fabrics at, call it like 50 microsecond response time, which is kind of absurd.
Super fast
latency. But do so at like 18 million IOPS and 200 gigabytes per second. So this thing is the ultra high performance for somebody who's looking for very scalable, even including enterprise feature sets like snapshots and replication. But maybe doesn't have the full feature set of what we see in the traditional FlashArray line because they're just ultra focused on latency. And if you're looking for that, this is quite possibly the killer's product that's out there. Right
it's powerful to see what we can do with the various trade-offs as well, right? That if somebody wants this and every little fraction of a second matters, that we can go off and take the existing technology and innovate and develop something that really adds value. Speaking of also adding value and really what speaks to our evergreen architecture, our evergreen philosophy, let's not forget the rev on X and on C, right? The mainstream products. Like, as you said, we pretty much refresh the entire FlashArray, but everyone loves an X. Everyone loves a C, maybe for those non-prod workloads or those, higher capacity types of things. But we're seeing performance improvements there as well as more value.
Yeah, so FlashArray X, being the flagship product, it's great to just see continual performance gains, especially around just our evergreen promise for customers who have, we have some customers out there, 7 or 8 generations of hardware, which is pretty nuts. Just to think about now they have another new generation and every one of those gave them a 30, 40, 50% boost. In this case, it was about 30% boost on the on the X product line. But then the C got a newly upgraded capacity bump. So they're about 40% bump in capacity as well. And so as a customer, it is pretty amazing time to not only just see this evergreen promise play out with an entire family being refreshed, but, being able to do so non-disruptively and get all of these, inherent benefits.
Yeah. And when they want to get those benefits as well, anytime, right? The choice that comes with that. Well, really exciting. Congrats to the entire team. I know it's a lot of work to manage not only just one product refresh, but doing multiples as well as new entries into the market that meet some new needs.
We've got the best engineering team in the business.
They are fantastic. And part of that also is meeting the needs around what our customers are doing for virtualization, right? Yep. We talked about that a little bit at the New York launch event. Certainly it was a very popular topic for us in Las Vegas. We had that one customer who wanted to run sort of a user group style meeting that was super cool, and we accommodated it. And there was some really engaging discussion, I'll say, spirited, that was there. What are you seeing relative to the virtualization landscape right now, just before we get into pure storage cloud things?
So this is probably one of the more dynamic conversations that are out there right now. Like, everyone is starting to rationalize, hey, we've built a virtualization platform. We've been using it for quite some time. We do want to modernize applications. We do want to look at alternate approaches. And so I think a lot of it's really just investigation of, how do I make this move if I choose to do so? How do I reduce risk? And can you help me along that migration path? And then what are my various different options? And I think one of the cool parts right now is there are a lot of really, really good options out there that don't have to all be, VMware in particular. There is, a bunch of other stuff. And we're building very deep integrations with each of those to help customers along that path.
And continuing to build with VMware. Let's be really clear that that's a partnership that's been going on for over a decade. And now we're working with the VMware team and Broadcom, and we're still moving on that. But now there are alternatives. Customers are coming to us and they're asking us as like a trusted advisor, well, what do you think about these other hypervisors? Okay. And we have the Nutanix announcement that we made a few months ago that was exciting. There's other hypervisors that are there. Certainly it's great that we acquired Portworx a number of years back. And now we have this option for customers. They're already doing modern applications. Why not look at how do you shift your VMs there? And then there's this other alternative, which is the cloud. And we've been investing really deeply, kind of behind the scenes for a number of years. I go all the way back to 2018 when we brought out Cloud Block Store. And now we have Pure Storage Cloud as this family of hybrid cloud options where we put our data services in the cloud. People benefit from it. And it's only gotten better now with this announcement.
Yeah. So I'm actually... we started off with Cloud Block Store in AWS. This native service that we're offering in Azure is quite a big win for customers, because I think it not only optimizes the deployment path for them, it's fully integrated with the capabilities within Azure so they can use their credits, but it allows them to kind of decouple, especially in Azure VMware services, to be able to decouple the two from compute and storage. And so you get better efficiency, you get better cost models on the actual storage itself. It is a pretty phenomenal win for customers just holistically. And then when you connect this with our unified data plane and our intelligent control plane, now you really can have this game of moving data to where it makes most sense to process or to run those applications. And get into a mode of operation where I think everyone's really trying to in a full hybrid type scenario.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility there. And I will make a call out. We have the replays from the New York event up, and it was great. We had Vamshi, who's the group manager of Azure, I think, Azure Service, Azure Native, and he came up and he did a great demo, about 2.5 minutes, which I would ask everybody to check out. It was really cool to see the actual tech working there as part of that demo. Super, super cool. Really rounding out the portfolio for Pure Storage Cloud. Last but not least, as I have you, I want to make sure that we don't ignore the unstructured data part, right? Looking at AI, looking at HPC, FlashBlade now as really an established platform to solve the challenges there. And of course, built into our intelligent control plane, unified data plane, right? Everything very unified. We made some leaps forward as well with FlashBlade, performance improvement, revving that into a new version.
Yeah, so the R2 version of the Blade, or SR2, gave us about a 70% performance boost. We're seeing ourselves just kind of continually increment performance within the platform. But I think holistically, if you think about kind of the structure of unstructured capacity, we're getting into a mode, especially with the intelligent control plane, in building kind of a much bigger namespace that customers can abstract away the infrastructure stack and start to do some really cool, fun management capabilities around the data that you'll see in the future from us. But getting those performance gains are big for our customers and all the different use cases that they have out there.
A couple other really exciting features that we talked about on main stage. One, pure KVA integration, so some acceleration around inferencing that was exciting. Purity Deep Reduce also came out. Touch on those a little bit and just what those add into the mix.
So KVA is an interesting one because it kind of allows you to keep the state of prior processed prompts. So you don't have to rerun them every single time if you're running something that's relevant to the old one. It's kind of like not having to reread a book if you have to actually ask a question about the book, just having the memory.
It's in memory. It's there. And you see, you don't have to call it back again entirely.
So the benefits of this is you're reducing the processing time. So, inference becomes about 20x faster, which is pretty killer. But then you also have just reduced cost of processing, of course, because you're not having to actually do it. And it just simplifies the way some of these architectures are built. You'll see more and more stuff from us coming out that provides better and better efficiency around the inference process in particular, as that becomes the next logical evolution, as people start to take these large language as well as small language models and operationalize them into the enterprise.
Yeah, for sure. All right, are you ready for a couple little hot take? Well, now let's close before we hit that. Just make sure that we talk just around Evergreen here too, because even with FlashBlade, we're looking at the Evergreen capabilities, people being able to upgrade, like that promise continues. You mentioned earlier, we have people that are running arrays from 10 years ago, 7 or 8 generations of upgrades if they want. I mean, that is the powerful promise that continues, even with all these new hardware upgrades that we're talking about.
I'll try to pull in Purity Deep Reduce because I forgot to mention that one too, but it is all kind of part of the same methodology here. It's like, so Purity Deep Reduce is even deeper data reduction to allow for, better TCO effectively to our end customers. But it is part of kind of that same Evergreen promise. Evergreen also includes all of these additional features that get added into the system that don't come at an incremental cost to users. But so does the Evergreen promise of being able to non-disruptively upgrade systems. And with upgrading the entire family to new generations of hardware, I mean, every single customer gets effectively a gift of new performance, new capacity gains, whatever else, at any time that they want with no disruption. And so the fact that we've been doing this for so many years is just is great for customers and obviously fun to talk about as well, because I think the architecture really drives this core differentiation that others just can't keep up with.
Yeah, and new capabilities too. And we're always encouraging people, right? If you get too close to the latest or the latest version of Purity, then you get to take advantage of things like Fusion and all these new features and the KVA. And so, let's make sure that everybody stays on track with that. Talk to your account team, talk to your SE and your CSM, and they can work with you to get to that version of Purity that's going to unlock these really great capabilities. We'll close really quick with just a couple of little hot takes because I want to get your perspective on a couple areas. And particularly as we're bringing out a lot of these new platforms and the knowledge that there are still customers out there that maybe are on legacy things from other vendors that are complex, different operating environments. When people look at planning, companies are looking at planning their infrastructure for different workloads. What's a pitfall? What's something that can be challenging that they run into as they're looking for what's the next 3 years? Because it is all about workloads and what they're deploying.
So I think one of the things I hear predominantly is people are building infrastructure for applications. It's like a stack associated to it. And if you think about it, we kind of virtualized compute and we virtualized network, but unfortunately storage stayed reasonably siloed throughout. And so I think, customers need to think much more holistically about providing a data platform or a unified data platform that can provide capabilities to satisfy all workloads. And as they're rationalizing how they enter into this, you pick some workloads that make a lot of sense and you kind of start to build that data plane around, those certain use cases, but have the expansibility through Fusion or our intelligent control plane to be able to, expand out, add new use cases, deploy new presets and workloads, and you get into a motion now of actually building this cloud operating experience versus building these silos and fragmented environments. And the benefits of this over the long term is not only can you satisfy that workload, but now you have a holistic view of your data. You can manage it And you can build compliance and remediate and report on and identify much better than what you could have if you kept it all in these siloed stacks.
Yeah, I think decoupling and looking at it from an end-to-end or holistic, as you say, also, I think helps the IT teams get closer to the business, right? This is a way that you can understand what the business is trying to do because they don't look at it as storage. They look at it as data that's needed to run our ERP or our supply chain or whatever. And you can get much more close to that and have a better connection when you start thinking in that term.
Get to the outcome.
Get to the outcome. Exactly. Always get to the outcome. Last one for you. What's a technological innovation or single piece of technology that you are excited to see evolve over the next year or two? Something you've had your eye on?
Yeah. So one project I'm playing with right now, which I'm sure we'll come back and talk to you maybe in a little while on, is this whole concept of kind of data mobility. The first use case you'll likely see around this is really adding in better efficiency around the unified data plane, since we're here, in being able to deploy workloads intelligently like we do through Fusion. But then over time, workloads change and dynamically evolve, and you're going to want to rebalance them across the fleet as part of this virtualized cloud of data. The second one that I think will be very interesting as part of this same technology infrastructure is building a global namespace that then allows you to give data mobility to move towards things like GPUs, whether it's on-prem in multiple data centers or in the cloud, where you want to be able to leverage that, and creating kind of a set of data that can move around and be capable of achieving new outcomes that others can't achieve today.
You danced around that very nicely. It's a future episode. I'm excited when we get to that point, but also exciting to see everything going on in that area. Well, sum it up for everybody. We had you on for Intelligent Control Plane. It's a super exciting time for Fusion, for existing customers that are listening or are watching. We are here to help you. We want to get you experiencing Fusion and help you understand what that's going to unlock, the efficiencies just from an operating standpoint. Now you have the unified data plane, all these exciting announcements, all coming together with the platform. And we're going to have Scott Taylor on next week, who's going to go into cyber, because you need to wrap it all in cyber. But sum it up. What's got you excited right now with all these announcements?
So this enterprise data cloud thing, I think, is quite possibly one of the bigger fundamental changes that we're delivering to enterprises. And it's a vision. We're going to continue on this over a long duration and providing more and more values as we abstract away the infrastructure. And the way that you do that is this unified data plane to start with, where we have common components, a common operating environment that kind of stitches this entire thing as one thing. But then you need to be able to provide this intelligence at the intelligent control plane to be able to use the intelligence of your environment to deploy workloads, manage those workloads, and then abstract away the infrastructure to truly manage the data at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love it. It's fun to think back to when we used to use the tagline "Hello Possible" to now see what is possible, what we're delivering with these. Super exciting time. Thanks for coming on to the show and doing these. I know we had to wedge these in with your busy schedule, but it's always great to have you here in the building so I can drag you in here. And thank you out there for watching episode 2 of our launch series. Super excited that you are tuning in with us. And as always with this program, please tell a friend, tell a colleague. We'll have the great guests like Chad continue to come onto the program. For more info around the launch, go to purestorage.com/launch, and you'll find everything there. So many people that have been involved in this. We're excited to bring it to you, customers, and our partners, and certainly our prospects who are interested in what we're doing here at Pure. So thanks for listening and watching. With that, we will wrap for Pure Storage. For Chad Kenny, this is Rob Ludeman saying, don't look back. Something might be gaining on you.